Today, we're jumping into a story that just flips everything you think you know on its head. We're talking about enemies, heroes, and a promise so radical it's kind of hard to wrap your head around. Let's get into it. So let's start with this. Just think about it for a second. What if that person, you know the one, your biggest headache, your greatest rival, what if they were secretly your most important teacher? It's a wild idea, right? But it's central to the story we're about to explore. It's all about reframing those difficult people in our lives, not as roadblocks, but as, well, as rocket fuel for our own growth. Let's see how this plays out. All right, so let's set the scene. We're going way, way back, countless eons ago. There's this king, and he's got it all. I mean, the power, the money, the whole kingdom. But deep down, he knows something is missing. There's this huge hole he can't fill. He's desperate to find the ultimate truth, what the story calls the great teaching. And when I say desperate, I mean he was willing to do anything to find it. So what does he do? He literally gives up his throne, just hands the keys to the kingdom over to his son and makes this incredible public vow. And you gotta understand, this wasn't some casual promise. This was him throwing away his entire identity, his status, everything. He was basically saying, I am willing to be a slave for the person who can teach me what I need to know. And sure enough, this hermit shows up. He says, I've got what you're looking for. And for the next, get this, 1,000 years, the king serves him, nonstop. And we're not talking about just taking notes in a class. We're talking hard labor. He was out there gathering fruit and firewood, drawing water, cooking meals. He even offered his own body for the hermit to sit on. It's just total, complete devotion. Okay, so here's where the story takes a massive turn. You ready for this? That king, the one who sacrificed everything, that was the Buddha in a past life. And the hermit, the demanding teacher he served for a millennium, that was Devadatta. Yep, that Devadatta. The Buddha's cousin who would go on to become his worst enemy, the guy who literally tried to kill him multiple times. Mind-blowing, right? And this is the whole point. The Buddha looks back at this and doesn't call Devadatta his enemy or the guy who made his life miserable. No, he calls him his good friend, his teacher. He says straight up that it was because of Devadatta and all the challenges he threw at him that he was able to reach enlightenment. His greatest enemy was actually the key to his greatest success. And if that wasn't enough, the story goes one step further. The Buddha then makes a prophecy. He says that even Devadatta, the guy who tried to assassinate him, will one day become a Buddha himself, named Heavenly King. Just think about that. It means that in this worldview, nobody is beyond hope. Nobody is damned forever, not even the person you consider your absolute worst enemy. So that's a pretty radical idea, right? Forgiving your enemy. But believe it or not, the next part of the story shatters an even more deeply held belief. This time about who is even capable of enlightenment. For this, we have to travel to a pretty amazing place, the bottom of the ocean, to the palace of the Dragon King. So, the Bodhisattva of wisdom, Manjusri, he comes back from a visit to this underwater palace and he's got news. He's met someone incredible, the Dragon King's daughter. And she's 8, just a kid. But Manjusri insists she's already figured out the deepest truths of the universe. An 8-year-old girl. Well, you can imagine the reaction. The senior monks in the assembly they can't believe it. They're like, no way. For them, enlightenment is something that takes countless lifetimes of painful, hard work. And on top of that, they held this deep-seated belief that a woman's body was basically a spiritual dead end, that you couldn't reach the ultimate state as a woman. So you have this huge clash of beliefs right there. And Shariputra, who was one of the Buddha's smartest disciples, he actually spells it out. He lists these 5 obstacles, which were basically the accepted rules of the time. They said a woman could never become one of these great cosmic kings, and she could absolutely positively never become a Buddha. This was the massive wall of prejudice the Dragon Girl was up against. So, right in the middle of this heated argument, who shows up? The Dragon Girl herself. She just walks up, totally calm, and offers the Buddha this incredibly valuable jewel. He takes it, then she turns to all the doubters and says, "Hey, was that fast?" And they're like, yeah, that was pretty quick. And she just says, watch this. My enlightenment is going to be even faster. And bam, right in front of everyone, she instantly transforms into a male form and achieves perfect enlightenment. Just like that. And this wasn't some kind of metaphor or internal vision. The entire crowd saw it happen with their own eyes. They watched her become a Buddha, travel to a whole nother realm, and start teaching the Dharma. I mean, she didn't just bend the rules, she completely shattered them for everyone to see. It was definitive proof that enlightenment has nothing to do with your age, your gender, or how long you've been practicing. So you might be thinking, okay, but maybe she was just a one-off, a special case. But the sutra makes it really clear that's not the point. Her story wasn't a miracle just for her. It was an example meant to illustrate a universal truth. The text then immediately zooms out to show that this promise is for everyone. To prove it, the Buddha turns to the women in his own family, his aunt and stepmother, Mahapajapati, who raised him, and his former wife, Yashodhara. He looks at them and gives them each a prophecy, saying that they too will become fully enlightened Buddhas in the future. He even gives them their future Buddha names. It makes this huge cosmic promise incredibly personal and real. Okay, so it's one thing to hear these mind-blowing teachings in a safe space, right? But what happens when you try to take them out into the world? The text is super realistic about this. It knows that these ideas, that your enemy is your best friend, that an 8-year-old girl can become a Buddha instantly, are not going to be popular, especially in darker, more dangerous times to come. And that's when the bodhisattvas in the crowd stand up. They make this incredible vow. They promise they will carry this message forward no matter what. And they get really specific about what no matter what means. They're talking about being slandered, getting attacked with swords and clubs, getting kicked out of their own monasteries, being called heretics by corrupt monks. They are signing up for some serious hardship. And this line really says it all. They say, "We will don the armor of patience." It's like they're suiting up for battle, but their weapon is patience. They're saying, our own lives don't matter as much as this teaching does. It's just this powerful declaration that the truth is worth more than their personal safety, more than their reputation, more than anything. So after all that, these incredible ancient stories, we're left with a question that feels very, very current. These stories just tear down our neat little boxes for who's an enemy and who's a friend, who's capable and who isn't. They force us to look for potential where everyone else just sees a wall. So the question for us right now is, what's our wall? What's the impossible barrier or prejudice in our world that's just begging to be challenged?